St. Louis and I are here today to make clear what it means to promote equal justice for every person in this country. Attorney General Garland, you often speak about your commitment to supporting civil rights and the rule of law. But I have concerns about whether the department under your leadership is doing the absolute most it possibly can to advance these goals. In the limited time I have, I want to share my concerns about specific issues with you directly and to make clear the steps that I believe that the department needs to take. First off, as this hearing has shown, a small number of the department's cases get an outsized level of attention in politics. But the reality is you preside over most of the federal system of mass incarceration. And every day in courtrooms around the country, including St. Louis, prosecutors who ultimately report to you are continuing to disproportionately prosecute disproportionately Black and brown people for disproportionately low-level immigration and narcotics and firearm offenses. And under your watch, the federal incarceration rate has increased for the first time in nearly a decade. Meanwhile, corporate crime enforcement is lower than it was during the Trump administration. The department needs to rethink its entire approach to prosecution, but let me also say I thank you for what you're doing with the insurrectionists. And I urge you to take specific steps towards ending mandatory minimums and prosecutory misconduct waivers and actively supporting alternatives to incarceration, funding federal public defenders, use of clemency power, and reporting on disparities in federal prosecutions. I'm also deeply concerned about the Bureau of Prisons. Director Peters is not doing enough to address the rampant issues of abuse and mismanagement at the Bureau, which affects both correctional staff and people in custody. It is shameful that solitary confinement has increased in the Bureau of Prisons during the Biden administration, despite the president claiming he supports ending it. We need to see more from the department across the board on Bureau of Prisons oversight. And you should implement the president's commitment to end the torturous practice of solitary confinement once and for all. I'm also incredibly disheartened that the department has continued to pursue the death penalty despite the president's pledge to end it. I urge the department to reverse course, including by dismantling the federal death chamber in Indiana and advocating for the commutation of the sentences of everyone on federal death row. I'm also still waiting to see any meaningful progress on the commitments that Associate Attorney General Gupta announced in June 22 around the enforcement of Title VI and the Safe Streets Act. I'd also like to, and I'm going on and on, but I'm taking my time. I also like an update on when the department will respond to the Oversight Committee Democrats' letter from June 2021 about the memo issued by the Trump administration's Office of Legal Counsel concerning the Equal Rights Amendment. That deeply flawed memo is preventing the Archivist of the United States from publishing the Equal Rights Amendment as the 28th Amendment. I know that OLC issued a short clarification after you took office, but the wording was not a clear repudiation of the Trump-era memo. I urge you to fully withdraw the Trump OLC memo, which is baselessly obstructing constitutional gender equality for all. Finally, I cannot overstate how shocked I am by the targeting of protesters who oppose the construction of the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center, or Cop City, and I urge the department to investigate these obvious violations of civil rights. These may all seem like unrelated issues, but to me, to my constituents, to countless advocates, and to people who are most directly impacted, they are interconnected and they all speak to whether the department under your leadership will advance justice or simply pay lip service to it. Given the limited time that we have, I don't expect you to comment on all of these issues, but I have a question. Will you commit to working with me in my office on these issues, including having your staff promptly, by writing your position and sending that to us, reaching out to us about all of the issues that we just spoke about?
I'd be happy to have the Office of Legislative Affairs to work with your staff. I want to say I could not be prouder of the civil rights record of this department. It is the fundamental basis for why the Justice Department was founded. We have a history of also being obviously involved in the 1960s. When I came to the Justice
And I'm
Department.
not, I'm going to stop you. I'm not disagreeing with any of that. I just want you to understand where I'm coming from, the things that I would like to see. I don't mean to cut you off, but I need to reclaim my time. Finally, I want to remind everyone yet again that this is what good faith oversight looks like, not the Republican playbook of running interference for a twice impeached, 4 times indicted white supremacist demagogue who would rather overthrow our democracy than admit he lost an election. Thank you, and I yield back.